Prime Minister Rama, Foreign Minister Gjashka, PJ Shahid, Congressman Himes, co-chair of the Albanian caucus in the US House of Representatives, Excellencies, colleagues, UN ambassadors, compatriots from the Albanian American community. As the prominent representative of Albania to the United Nations, I'm particularly pleased that after the turbulent and uneasy times we all have been through, a considerably improved sanitary situations allowed us, finally, to mark this exceptional moment for Albania. Thank you all for honoring with your presence. I hope that this event will mark, as much as possible, the end of a long tunnel of uncertainty that allow us to prudently but surely resume what is dear to all of us, life as we know it, life as we like it. The Security Council has no magic. It has only power. The power to change, to help bring and maintain peace, to make the world a better place. This is what we seek to contribute to during our term in the Council. This is why, for a small country in the Western Balkans, this fast-developing neighborhood of Europe, serving in the Council is not a routine mandate, and it doesn't come very often. Let me now invite to the podium a woman, a leading personality in a government composed of 17 persons, out of whom 12 are women. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Minister for Europe and Foreign Affairs of Albania, Olta Gjashka.
Dear guests, dear friends, excellencies, thank you for joining us here today. We are honored by your presence on this very special occasion for my country. For the first time, 66 years ago, after becoming a member of the UN, Albania finally has the opportunity to sit at the UN Security Council. 66 years is a long time, a very, very long time. And throughout our preparations, while we were selecting the team that would represent us, while we were discussing the priorities of our work in the Council, and while we were discussing the thousands of details that this mandate entails, we all felt the historical dimension of this. This is a great responsibility, of course. This is a great privilege, without a doubt, but this is just as much a milestone in the history of modern Albania. It shows how far we have traveled and how much our country and our people have achieved. I remember when I first arrived in the States some 25 years ago, my family and I lived in Massachusetts and I studied there. And one of the things that remains with me to this day from those early years after I arrived was the sense of uneasiness that I felt every time I was asked where I came from. There were those who had no clue and had never heard of Albania. And after all, why would an American kid from Boston know anything about this tiny country somewhere in the Balkans that had just emerged from communism, poor and on the verge of collapse, with hundreds of thousands fleeing their country in search of security and a better life in Europe and wherever they could. But it was even worse when they knew where Albania was and whether they had any knowledge of what Albania was like in the early 1990s. Because frankly, there was not much to be proud of. This was not just my experience. This was the experience of thousands of my fellow Albanians who left the ruins of their country during that terrible period of our history. Fast forward, in August of last year, Albania opened its doors to several thousands at-risk Afghans, civil society and women's rights activists, doctors, educators, artists, journalists who had to flee their country in fear for their lives and their families. I met many of them, and they reminded me so much of myself when, to borrow an expression used by the Prime Minister, I was one of the Afghans of Europe, fleeing my country in search of a better future elsewhere. And it was precisely this reflection that made me realize just how far Albania has come, and just how different a country it is today from the country that I had to leave behind as a kid. We have gone through tyranny, through collapse. We have gone through poverty and conflict. We have seen our region, our brothers and neighbors devastated by war and destruction. But much has changed since then. Albania is now a modern democracy with the highest representation of women in government. It is a growing and vibrant economy about to open formal negotiations with the European Union. It is an anchor of stability in the region and a net exporter of security, playing a crucial role in consolidating peace and cooperation in the Western Balkans. Frankly, there is much now to be proud of. And it is with this in mind that I say that being in the Security Council is a milestone in the history of modern Albania, that it shows just how far we have traveled and just how much our country and our people have achieved. And I think that it is this experience, the experience of this transformative process, that I think will be the most significant contribution of my country to the Security Council and to addressing some of the most pressing issues of our time. We may differ in land area or population, we may differ in the size of our economies, but when it comes to principles, to what works and what not, to what is right and what is wrong, size does not matter. We come to the Council with a sense of realism of what small countries can achieve, but we also come to the Council with a sense of optimism that even small countries can make an impact on issues such as women, peace and security, or combating violent extremism, human rights and international law, or climate change and security, or increasing the transparency and efficiency of cooperation between nations in the Security Council. These are all our priorities. But in this effort, we know that we cannot achieve anything by going at it alone. The only way to have an impact on any of these issues that trouble the world today is by working closely together with all like-minded countries, by striving for common ground and what unites us, even when there are many areas on which we do not see eye to eye. We have been overwhelmed over the past year by how many countries have reached out to us with a desire to work together. And that is precisely what we want to do, work together, so that we can create synergies and turn our presence in the Security Council into just one segment of a relay race where a country picks up on those issues where its predecessor left off in the Council and hands over the file or the baton to those that come to the Council after it when one's mandate is over. This is our vision, this is our hope, and we hope that we will have occasion to work together with as many of you as possible for the sake of a better world. So I thank you all for being here today and showing support. We are very grateful for your friendship and partnership. So now I'd like to invite to take the floor for his remarks the President of the UN General Assembly, Abdullah Shahid, whose presidency for hope has been acting and motivating despite the various challenges that have been knocking at its door, demanding its immediate attention. Albania is happy to work with you, and I'd also like to thank you for your important and successful initiative standing for vaccine equity, a welcome call for solidarity worldwide. PGA Shahid, the floor is yours.
Your Excellency Edi Rama, Prime Minister of Albania, dear Foreign Minister, Ambassadors, Excellencies, Permanent Representatives, I congratulate Albania on its maiden election as a non-permanent member of the Security Council for the period 2022-2023. I have no doubt that Albania will build on its long-standing commitment to peace and security and on its history of robust engagement with multiple organs of the United Nations to strengthen the work of the Council. That work is critical now as the world faces several complex and interlinked crises that require our urgent attention. As the primary organ of the United Nations, tasked with maintaining global peace, addressing these issues fall within the remit of the Security Council. It is crucial that the Council can rise to this occasion to demonstrate the enduring importance of both multilateralism and the United Nations in the preservation of global peace. For someone who comes from a small island state, I'm confident that Albania, a fellow small state, will bring a unique perspective to the issues that the Council is seized of. Albania's experience in resolving conflict and forging reconciliation will enable it to play the role of a bridge builder in the Council. I commend Albania for the priorities it has chosen for the duration of its membership. These include strengthening human rights and international law, countering violent extremism, emphasizing the linkages between climate and security, finding inclusive solutions through partnerships, and strengthening the working methods of the Council. I particularly commend Albania on its initiative to promote the more active role of women and girls in conflict prevention and resolution. This emphasis on gender equality resonates deeply with my presidency of hope, which remains committed to facilitating more platforms for women and girls to participate in global multilateralism. Rest assured that during my presidency, I will work closely with the Council to advance our common priorities. I look forward to continuing the monthly coordination meetings I have with the President of the Security Council to converse on developments within the Council and the Assembly. And I look forward to working closely with Albania in June this year when it assumes its presidency. I once again congratulate Albania on its election, and I wish you all a pleasant evening. I thank you.
Thank you, PJ Shahid, for those very inspiring remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased now to invite to the podium the Prime Minister of Albania, Edi Rama.
Thank you, Mr. President of the General Assembly, for your very kind words. As I understand, you are the boss of many here in the room who by their presence honor us. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, mbrëma të gjithë bashkëdhetarëve, joining the Security Council is an event of historic importance for Albania. It marks yet another critical stepstone in our transformational drive to fulfill our aspirations as a nation and contribute to making the world a better place for us and for all. Let me start by going off script and say it bluntly against the ambassador and everyone else's advice. If for anything else, but for such gathering like this one, where so many friends and distinguished guests are present to share this moment with us, I guess the Security Council's seat is worth. Thank you for being here. Only a wild imagination would have had the bravery to dream all this just 3 decades ago. And I even doubt that no wild imagination could have had the bravery to dream all this. At that time, Albania was a bunker in darkness. For almost half a century, it crawled under one of the most oppressive communist regimes in Europe, which made our country be, I need to say it, the North Korea of Europe. The dictatorship came crumbling because of the people's appeal to what human nature has as its inherent exigence: freedom, equality, democracy, and the rule of law. Many times the wheels of history move in odd directions. For us, Albanians, the awakening came rather late, but we kept our sight on the appealing light and have since moved in one single direction, that of freedom, democracy, human rights, dignity, development, and reform. Seeking our deserved place in the region and Europe has remained our compass ever since. Even in the most difficult moments in our long and difficult road towards a democratic society, to the family we seek to join, the European family where we belong. The world has changed and transformed during the last 66 years, since the day we entered the United Nations. Many countries and societies have seen their life change profoundly, but I can say without doubt that Albania's transformation is one of the most remarkable and the most impactful. To the point that I tend to agree with friends who tell us that in course of the last 3 decades, Albania has transformed more than during the last 3 centuries. This is our record, one we are proud of, one we only seek to further improve. Nowadays, we notice that the values we used to take for granted as aspirations to attain have been put into doubts. But for us who have survived through dark times, these are doubts we do not harbor, because we know what the alternative to such values is. We have placed international law and human rights at the heart of our agenda for our mandate in the Security Council. We see them as priorities in the world's most powerful body. I don't know how many in this room or outside would agree or disagree with me that wherever human rights are observed, wherever women are respected and empowered, wherever the needs of the citizens are placed first, there is sustainable development and genuine progress. For us, human rights are at the heart of the critical issues of peace and security. The recognition of the universality of rights asks for a clever balance between conflicting principles: sovereignty of nations, which we must respect, and human rights defense, which we must abide by. The Security Council is made to speak out and intervene in the service of these values when gross violations happen. For us, the challenge is how the Council can intervene in an intelligent, reflective, and timely manner to prevent atrocities, stop conflicts, and ensure lasting peace and security. No one doubts the strength of the Security Council. Our challenge is to make just what is strong and make strong what is just. For an organ as powerful as the Council, not being just is not an option. So we must unite with justice, because there will not be peace without it. Security cannot be established and let alone last without justice to be raised. Thus, in our view, the Security Council should seek to achieve peace and security, but also establish justice and accountability. It is through accountability that we can go towards reconciliation, which cements lasting peace. It is in this that lies the task for a small nation like Albania. We do not bring material strength to the Security Council, at least not for now. But strength is not what the Security Council lacks, nor is it sheer strength that is required for the Council to address the most pressing challenges to world peace and security today. We have committed to bring our voice, our values and norms in the shared work of the Security Council as a contribution to peace. We wish to share with others our lived experience, our lessons learned. Our direct way to contribute to alleviate suffering to those in need has been to give what we have, what we could, when we had to do it. Open our homes and hearts to those needing rescue and shelter, whether it is the Jews during the Holocaust, when Albania became the only country to have more Jews after the war than before, or for 500,000 of Kosovars fleeing the ethnic cleansing from the brutal regime of Slobodan Milosevic, or thousands of MEKs shelter secure in Albania, and most recently, thousands of Afghans escaping the Taliban's reprisal. We claim no credit for all of this. It goes for the dignity of every human being, irrespective of their creed, religion, ethnicity, gender, or whatever orientation. This is not a slogan, it is a lived practice. We do not act according to this code of honor because we can, but simply because we must. It comes with our sense of who we are as Albanians and who we want our children to be. Dear friends, in our long journey until we found our way, we have seen everything: war, occupation, dictatorship, self-imposed isolation, extreme poverty. The only thing we have not experienced, and there is a fundamental reason for this, is religious-based conflict. This is because we have learned in the hard way to place what is common first and what is individual next. We have come to believe in the frank dialogue, or better said, the fusion of horizons. Dialogue for us is a method to achieve mutual understanding, mutual respect and recognition, without which peace will remain a mirage, an elusive aspiration. We'll be able to fight the root causes of violent conflict by recognizing the other in ourselves and ourselves in others. Ultimately, we are all a community of faith. Our future on this only and unique place called Earth is ultimately tied to our ability to understand and learn to live with our differences, with shared aspirations, in peace and dignity. That is the task we take upon ourselves, to keep that bright horizon at the heart of the work in the Security Council. Thank you for all being with us tonight, and by the way, at this very special date, and thank you for showing a bit of the love of the day to Albania. Thank you.
Lajmi më i shpejt në celularin tënd.